Learning English grammar can feel like climbing a mountain, but don't worry, we're here to make it easier. Understanding the present simple and present progressive tenses is like packing the right gear for your climb. These tenses are essential building blocks for speaking and writing English fluently. Mastering them is like unlocking a secret code to the English language. Once you understand them, you'll communicate with confidence and ease. By the end, you'll use these tenses like a pro, and your English skills will reach new heights. The present simple tense is your go-to tense for talking about habits, routines, and general truths. It's like the steady rhythm of a drumbeat, keeping time with the regular occurrences in your life. For example, he walks to school every day. This tells us about his regular routine. The sun rises in the east. This is a timeless fact. He eats breakfast at 7 a.m., describes a habitual action. They live in a big city, tells us about their permanent residence. The present simple is the bedrock of English grammar. It's often used with adverbs of frequency like always, usually, and never. So buckle up and get ready to explore the present simple tense. Now let's shift gears and explore the present progressive tense, the tense of action. This tense describes actions happening right now, like a live broadcast. It's the what I'm doing right now tense. For example, he is walking to school now. Another example, it is raining outside. He is eating breakfast right now. The present progressive is formed using to be plus the ing form of the main verb. This tense adds immediacy to your language. So step into the present and experience the energy of the present progressive tense. The present simple and present progressive tenses might seem similar at first glance, but they have distinct roles in English grammar. Understanding their differences is like knowing when to use a hammer versus a screwdriver. Both are tools, but they serve different purposes. The present simple describes habits, routines, and general truths. It's like the steady rhythm of a heartbeat, constant and predictable. The present progressive, on the other hand, describes actions happening right now. It's like a flash of lightning capturing a specific moment in time. Think of it this way, the present simple is like a photograph, capturing a timeless image, while the present progressive is like a video recording a moment in motion. One is static, the other dynamic. Another key difference lies in the use of stative verbs. These verbs describe states of being or conditions rather than actions. They typically don't appear in the present progressive tense. We'll delve deeper into stative verbs in the next section. So keep these key differences in mind as you navigate the world of English tenses. Knowing when to use each tense will add clarity and precision to your language. Section 5. Stative verbs, the non-action verbs. Now let's talk about stative verbs, a special group of verbs that often cause confusion. These verbs describe states of being, conditions, or perceptions rather than actions. Think of them as the still life of the verb world. Stative verbs typically don't appear in the present progressive tense, even if we're talking about something happening right now. It's like trying to capture a still life painting in a video. It just doesn't quite work. For example, we wouldn't say I am knowing the answer. Instead, we say I know the answer. The verb know describes a state of mind, not an action in progress. Similarly, we wouldn't say he is liking the movie. We say he likes the movie. Like describes a preference, not an activity. Stative verbs often relate to thoughts, emotions, senses, possession, and states of being. They express a condition rather than an activity. Understanding these verbs is like adding a finer brush to your grammar palette, allowing you to express nuances of meaning. So let's explore some examples of stative verbs and see how they behave in sentences. Section 6. Stative verb examples. A closer look. Here are some common stative verbs to help you understand their function. Believe, think, understand, know, want, need, love, hate, like, dislike, prefer, see, hear, smell, taste, feel, own, belong, possess, seem, appear, cost, owe, exist, matter, and contain. Let's look at some examples. He believes in ghosts. This describes his belief, not an action he's currently performing. She thinks the movie is good. This expresses her opinion, not an ongoing thought process. He understands the instructions. This indicates his comprehension, not the act of understanding. They want a new car. This expresses their desire, not the act of wanting. He needs more time. This states his requirement, not an ongoing process of needing. She loves her family. This expresses her affection, not an action of loving. These examples illustrate how stative verbs describe states rather than actions. Remembering these common stative verbs will help you avoid using them incorrectly in the present progressive tense. Section 7. Stative verbs and senses. Seeing, hearing, feeling. Stative verbs related to senses, such as see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, describe perceptions rather than actions. These verbs tell us about how we experience the world through our senses. For example, I see a bird in the tree. This describes what you are visually perceiving. He hears music playing. This describes what he is auditorily perceiving. She smells the flowers. This describes her olfactory perception. He tastes the salt in the soup. This describes his gustatory perception. He feels the cold wind. This describes his tactile perception. These examples showcase how stative verbs related to senses describe our sensory experiences rather than physical actions. Even though these verbs might seem like they involve an action, they actually describe a state of perception. Understanding this nuance will help you use these verbs correctly. Section 8. Stative verbs and thoughts. Thinking and believing. Stative verbs related to thoughts such as think, believe, understand, know, remember, and forget describe mental states rather than mental actions. These verbs tell us about our internal thought processes. For example, I think the answer is correct. This expresses your opinion or belief about the answer. He believes in hard work. This describes his belief system. She understands the concept. This indicates her comprehension of the concept. He knows the password. This signifies his possession of the password information. He remembers his childhood. This describes his ability to recall past events. She forgets names easily. This describes her tendency to not retain names in her memory. These examples illustrate how stative verbs related to thoughts describe mental states rather than active thinking processes. Recognizing this distinction will further enhance your understanding of stative verbs. Section 9. Stative verbs in possession, owning and belonging. Stative verbs related to possession, such as own, belong, possess, and have, describe ownership or possession rather than actions. These verbs indicate who has or controls something. For example, he owns a car. This indicates his ownership of the car. The book belongs to him. This clarifies the book's ownership. She possesses a rare talent. This highlights her possession of a unique skill. He has a lot of friends. This signifies the extent of his social circle. These examples demonstrate how stative verbs related to possession describe a state of ownership rather than an action of possessing. Grasping this concept will solidify your understanding of stative verbs and their usage. Understanding these nuances will help you avoid using these verbs incorrectly in the present progressive tense. Section 10. More stative verb examples, expanding the list. Let's expand our understanding of stative verbs with more examples. The cake costs $5. This states the price of the cake, not an ongoing action. He owes me $10. This indicates a debt, not an action of owing. Ghosts exist or don't exist. This expresses a belief about existence, not an ongoing state of existing. It matters a lot to him. This indicates the importance of something, not an ongoing process of mattering. The box contains old photos. This describes the contents of the box, not an action of containing. These examples further illustrate the variety of stative verbs and their function in describing states rather than actions. By recognizing these verbs, you can avoid using them incorrectly in the present progressive tense. Section 11. Conclusion. Mastering the tenses. We've journeyed through the landscapes of the present simple and present progressive tenses, exploring their unique characteristics and functions. Like skilled map readers, we've learned to navigate these tenses with confidence and precision. We've also unearthed the secrets of stative verbs, those non-action verbs that prefer to stay put in the present simple. By recognizing these verbs, we can avoid common grammar pitfalls and express ourselves with greater accuracy. Remember, the present simple is your go-to tense for habits, routines, and general truths, while the present progressive captures the dynamism of actions happening right now. Mastering these tenses is like adding two powerful tools to your English language toolkit. So, go forth and practice these tenses and watch your English fluency soar to new heights. With consistent effort, you'll soon be wielding these tenses like a true grammar champion.